Okay, so you're probably wondering why there was not a cinematic intro, and that's because we're doing it right now, and really pay attention to the types of shots I'm getting and what I'm doing with the shots, because that's what today's video is about. Let's go. Alright, so I'm back at home and I filmed that sequence. It's been a couple of days. I've been editing. I think it turned out pretty good. I don't know what you guys thought, but hopefully you liked it. But now I'm going to talk about some of the techniques and things I used to achieve that sequence, I guess. The first thing we're going to talk about is coverage. So if you notice in that sequence, I filmed a lot of clips for every trick that Owen did. So a good example is the first feeble on that hip thing that Owen did. I filmed him jumping in, I filmed him riding across the bowl, then I filmed him jumping up wide, then I filmed it tight. So I just got a lot of shots, and then those I can use to make a sequence that really tells more of a story than just one clip. It shows the whole process. Just getting lots of shots for every trick, so then you can use all those shots in the sequence to really tell a complete story, is the first technique that I used. Then there's some little things that I did, like speed ramping. It's when it goes really fast, speeds up to fast and then slows down back to normal, or slows down to normal and then speeds back up, or slows down to slow-mo and then speeds up to regular again. That creates a cool kind of whooshy slow motion effect. And then audio, I left the audio in some of the clips. I think that creates a cool effect, you're actually there, you can hear the audio. And then sometimes I'll add fake audio, which can help. It can help you feel more like you're there, help you experience the feeling of the sequence or the clip. But for this one, I just left some of the clips with their audio. In the beginning, the fast wheels, the wheels moving really fast, I think that helps. And then as far as camera movement goes, there's a lot of techniques that you can use for camera movement, and the most basic one, hold on, it's getting windy, hopefully you can't hear the wind too much, but is the camera strap. So this isn't on my camera right now because my camera's filming this, but what you would do is wrap it around your neck and then hold your camera like this and push into it so these are tight. And this can create more points of contact, and then you can pivot around like this. The camera strap is the first technique, and this is super inexpensive. I bet you everyone who has a DSLR or mirrorless camera gets one of these with their camera. That's all you need. Now the second way, and what I used for all of this sequence, was this camera grip that I made. It cost me $5, and I made a video on it, and it's it just basically, the camera sets in here and then I can hold it like this, get low, smooth shots. I try to keep my arm straight. Then another way, this is probably the most expensive way, to use a tripod, and specifically one that has a fluid head. So as you can see, when I move this, it's really hard, but no matter how hard I try, it doesn't skip along because it's a fluid head. So if I go like that, it just stays smooth. This is actually what Owen and I used for our 2017 scooter edit video. So the shots in there are pretty smooth. You can see this thing creates really smooth shots. However, you can't actually move the camera. You can pan tilt, but you can't move in and out, which is something that I think helps. So this is nice, but in many cases this is more versatile and it's a lot less expensive. So if you want to just do something cheap, make it look good, this is perfectly adequate. You can watch my video in the cards. It's what I use for everything now at the skate park that I really want to make look cinematic. This is a good, more professional type of look, I guess. And then there's a bunch of other options like gimbals or steady cams, but I don't have any of those. Those are probably even more expensive than the tripod. And then if you're using a GoPro, you have a couple different options. You could rig this up for a GoPro by putting like a little thing in the front. However, the thing with GoPros, the heavier your camera is, the more stable your shots are going to be. And a GoPro is not very heavy. But what I've found to be quite useful is this like selfie stick or monopod thing. It's made by GoScope. Hopefully it'll focus here. GoScope. And it's telescoping. This is their XL one. And it's like super long. This is really good. I use it for when I'm like filming with my GoPro. I want big like selfie, I guess, style shots. I don't like using that word. But like those, like filming yourself, like on a cliff or something. And it also works well if you like attach the GoPro to the end here facing out. So you can see like this. So you're not filming yourself, and then you can extend it a little bit, and then you can put like a hand here, and then this creates a nice pivoting motion, and you can get some smooth shots, especially because this is a GoPro. It's going to be very smooth because the wider your angle, the smoother your footage is going to be, which is what we're going to get into next. But this is a very effective way to get some smooth shots, and this is a very versatile camera holding system. So now what we're going to talk about is angle, which I kind of mentioned a little bit, but so right now I'm shooting on my Panasonic G7 in, I believe, 14 millimeters, which is effectively 28 millimeters on a full frame camera. So this is as wide as my camera can go, and I like shooting everything as wide as possible. I think it creates more of a like vast, more dramatic, epic looking scene. So if you zoom in tight, it's kind of like almost shy or reserved type feel, and those aren't the best words to describe it, but generally shooting, the wider you shoot, the more epic things look. However, so that's 28 mils or 28 millimeters effectively on my G7. So then I can zoom in to natively 42 millimeters, but then this is here, I'll just sit back like this, which is effectively 84 millimeters, and as you can see, it's a lot tighter in. It's not as like epic and wide. It still looks like cinematic. A lot of B-roll is filmed like very tight, which in like at 100 millimeters or so. So this is pretty cinematic. I just don't think for skating footage it looks as like epic and creates as dramatic of a scene as wider angle. So we'll zoom back out here. And then the last focal length I'm going to talk about, because that's the only one I can talk about, is the GoPro. So you can see if I start recording with this, so that's a really wide look, and it's also fish-eyed, which I don't particularly like for filming cinematic or epic, or it does look pretty epic, but it doesn't look as cinematic. A lot of people like fish eyes for skating footage, and I think that can be kind of a cinematic cool look. I don't particularly like it. I like wide angle, and then it's not bowed like a fisheye, and I think that creates a much more cinematic look, and you can get really close to someone who's riding, which is something that can't really be achieved with a traditional linear lens. So the GoPro is another option. It's just not as cinematic in my opinion. So FOV, and now we're going to talk about music. So music is a big thing when you're filming anything, and particularly for skate footage, I like kind of housey, a little more like EDM than classic vlogging music, but has more hype and like excitement to it than like a vlogging track. There's also cinematic footage or cinematic music, which I'll show you a couple of examples of the same sequence using different music and how it doesn't create the same feeling. So here's that same footage put to like a super cinematic track. So as you can see, it doesn't have like the same excitement and hype that the other track does, which I particularly enjoy for skate or scooter in this case, but like skate I guess is a general term. I prefer the more excited house style music, so that's what I prefer, but music is kind of up to your opinion and what you want your audience to feel from your sequence. So if you have like a slower track, it might be like kind of solemn and epic, and like you want like those matte bars coming down and everything like nice and color graded and super good looking, which like I might use if I'm like shooting snowflakes in 120 FPS on a mountain somewhere. Like that is more of a vibe that works together than like Owen busting out like a whip rewind kickless over like a 6-foot gap. That doesn't really fit to like that cinematic footage. So that's my opinion. You can use whatever music you want. Just keep in mind that the music you choose is going to largely portray the feeling of the track to your audience. I've been recording for 17 minutes. I think that's all. Yeah, use all those strategies. Go film some epic cinematic sequences at the skate park. But that marks the end of this one, and I will see you all next time.